All right, we order invocation by myself, pledge of allegiance by Commissioner First, and then we'll have a roll call. Please stand.
Commissioner Brinson,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson. Here. Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Firstner.
Here.
Commissioner Oliver.
Here.
All right. Have a, if I can find it, proclamation. There it is. We have a proclamation tonight for the small business, Saturday, November 27th, 2021. Whereas the government of the city of Ocoee celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. According to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 31.7 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of firms with paid employees, and they are responsible for 65.1% of net new jobs created from 2000 to 2019. And whereas small businesses employ 47.1% of the employees in the private sector in the United States, 88% of U.S. consumers feel a personal commitment to support small businesses in the wake of the pandemic, and 92% of small business owners have pivoted the way they do business to stay open during the pandemic. And whereas 97% of small businesses Saturday shoppers recognize the impact they can make by shopping small. 85% of them also encourage friends and family to do so too. And whereas 56% of shoppers reported they shopped online with a small business on Small Business Saturday in 2020, and more than 50% of consumers who reported shopping small endorsed a local business on social media or shopped at a local business because of a social media recommendation. And whereas the city of Ocoee supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities, and whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now, therefore, I, Rusty Johnson, Mayor of the City of Ocoee, do hereby proclaim November 27th, 2021 as Small Business Saturday, and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Ocoee, Florida, to be affixed this 16th day of November, 2021. All right. Presentation. Traffic comment on Hackney Prairie Road. Public Works Director Steve Krug.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the much delayed Hackney Prairie Road traffic calming. We had some solutions and we had to delay it till we got some pricing so we could bring you a full package to discuss the item. Talking about traffic calming, definition in the Florida Green Book, which I don't know if anyone's ever seen one. It's a hefty little 905-page item. And on top of that, from back in 1999, the Federal Highway Administration and Institute of Transportation Engineers put together a traffic calming policy of all 200-something pages that hasn't changed since. It's not an evolving science, it's pretty much a standard thing. With the definition, mainly, they're looking to alter a driver's behavior by installing some physical element. Now, traffic calming, it's intended to be self-enforcing. It's separate from route modification, which is trying to keep people off of a road, or streetscaping, which is encouraging people to come visit a street. And it's not really regulatory traffic control devices such as stop signs and speed limit signs. There's other elements in that. Now, Hackney Prairie, what you're looking at there is just a long section of the road. It's 36 feet wide, has two 12-foot lanes with a 12-foot center median that's just striped. And there's really nothing to tell you to slow down, aside from this view when you're looking west from Hargate and Remington Oaks. You see there's a 25-mile-an-hour sign there. If people see that, they might look at it, but look at that wide open road. This is coming from the other direction, from Clark Road heading east. Still looks wide open, makes you want to drive faster. So we've had, in the past, before I ever got here, there were some traffic calming things. This is on, that the city implemented that really were more of a beautification thing. This is on Lady Avenue looking north from Nicole. You can see the full-size Chevy Tahoe there, how wide the area is. It doesn't encourage anybody to slow down. It's more of a beautification thing. And it just doesn't give you a reason to slow down. This picture may be difficult to see, but anyone who's driven on Hempel Avenue in Gotha, you know when you go through there, they really narrow the road down. Measuring those, the road, it's a little less than 10 feet wide in that area. They slow down. There's a picture of a garbage truck coming through there. You couldn't help but slow down. It just fits. And it was designed for that, gave you a visual reason to slow down. Nothing's telling you to other than, I got to get my car through there, but I can't go fast. I included this picture. It's, I don't even know where that's from, but they're called bulb outs, where they push them out. To me, I don't want to bring anything to you that's going to be a waste of money. That would do nothing to discourage people from speeding. Other than just looking like some goofy pavement, probably make you wonder what's going on here. That might be the only thing. Now, some of the quotes I've had from residents over the years, since we've been here 15 years, we've done a lot of traffic calming. My favorite one is, I like speed tables because I can fly over them. I asked the person, what about your car? And they're like, oh, I don't care about that. You see what the piece of junk it is? So, speed tables, Then one of my other favorite ones, I hate when you do those median things with the bricks because they make me slow down. And I said, exactly, and they just had a confused look on their face like, oh. So, some of the recommendations based on what we've also working with Orange County and Orlando with some of the things they've had a lot of success with. Recommend narrowing the travel lanes in this area by installing a traffic median, not through the whole thing, but in certain spots. Change the driving surface to use brick pavers so that there is a physical noise when you go through them to slow you down. And of course, striping the remainder of the road so that it stands out and so people see what's coming up. One of the reasons we looked at this too is what we're proposing, as you'll see in a bit, is if we ever want to do a median, install medians out there and actually beautify that corridor or make it look a little less pavement, we could extend the median traffic calming things we're talking about and put in full medians with landscaping as a possibility in the future. So where we're talking about is putting a traffic island between Clark and Rushton, Cabbage Pond, which is the first intersection. Then two between Rushton, Cabbage Pond and the park entrance. And then one in the middle between the park entrance and where the four-way stop is at Hargate and Remington Oaks. I have more details on this that I can pass out at the end. What we're looking at, if you're looking straight down on it, within the existing 36 feet, propose creating a median that would leave a 10-foot wide lane to allow cars to go through, but slow them down. You'll notice in the median it's saying it's brick. We're looking to put pavers there too because in order to try and keep the cost down, we could possibly put landscaping in there with irrigation, but I didn't include any of those costs because in the future is a possible expansion where we could do it up nicer. This is just kind of a cross section showing how we break it down, and it shows having a 10-foot lane with curbs on each side. And if something big had to come through there, which I don't know why it would, they could always drive up on the curb still. Like if a truck or something, similar like a roundabout if a big truck goes through. So the costs to do 4 islands, we're looking at approximately $85,000 to $95,000 to do what we're looking at. If we do any individual ones, we're looking at about $25,000 a piece because there's the same amount of overhead whether we do 1 or 4. So that's why it goes up a little bit. In the future, was looking at, if we, depending on what we do with the islands, it could be $100,000 to $200,000 in the future to landscape all those islands. And that's all gonna depend on how many of the medians we actually develop, which would be removing the asphalt in the middle, putting in, and taking out all the road base, putting in something that plants and trees could grow in, irrigate it, and go from there. But it just depends on how far we wanna go. Now, there's also an alternative to the traffic calming. It's not considered traffic calming, but we looked at where could we put stop signs out there as a possibility. It may not, people may still race between them, but even if they're slowing down to run a stop sign and no one's there, they generally don't just blow through it. So looking at an always stop at Rushton and Cabbage Palm intersection, which is just east of Clark Road, looking about $3,500 for stop signs and all the intersection striping. But also on that, what would make that work is restriping the entire roadway and restriping the lanes more narrow, putting a 10-foot lane with the reflective pavement markers in the lane, so if they get to going too fast or wide, they'll hit them, give a visual and audio reason to slow down. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Brinson, you got any questions?
First responders.
Yes. Seems like the 10-foot would be the minimum we would want to go, so our trucks could fit through there. It's designed so that a 25-mile-an-hour car, a car could drive through there 25 miles an hour comfortably.
Okay, so, and this is specifically for Hackney Prairie.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so right now on Hackney Prairie, the cars park on the side of the road?
We don't see cars parking on the side of the road.
Are they allowed to park on the side of the road?
No, sir. There's 2 through lanes with the curb, and then you have a turn lane, a center shared turn lane in the middle.
Okay. And, because that's a big, question I have is, first responders being able to get through there with fire, police, utility vehicles coming through there, making sure that we have enough room to accommodate them, should there be additional vehicles on the road. And I know this is probably something that it takes time to grow, but I know at least one of the surrounding municipalities also put trees that overhung the roadway to kind of give them that warm comfort feeling when they're driving through to help slow them down.
That was some of with putting the medians in. A long, full landscape median would provide that too, because we would narrow the road down, the lanes down to 10 feet also. That would just keep cars going slower.
And the driving surface, when you said driving surface, is it pavers you're talking, what are you talking about?
Talking at the medians, putting brick pavers. If we were to come back in the future and do a full median at some time in the future, I wouldn't look to recommend doing brick pavers the whole way, because that add into the cost, but still have those areas where if people did speed up, they'd hit that, it'd make them slow down.
Okay, that's all, that's the only question I
Mr.
have.
Wilson?
Yes, I know that speed bumps were talked about, and I support the engineers in the city that didn't feel that was appropriate, and I know Rob spoke about it, and you spoke about it, that they weren't appropriate on that road, and I understand that. The question I had, one of the questions is that this item is not budgeted for $85,000, and we don't have that in contingency. So I know I will want to hear what Commissioner Oliver has to say, because it isn't his district, but the concern I have, it's not budgeted, so I would think we'd want to do some measures that are reasonable until the time that we can budget that item, because we have about $50,000, if even that, in contingency, and to stay within our budget. No?
Nope.
39?
I think you have 29.
25, 29.
Oh, boy.
I think the city manager could find that money for
My
that.
favorite item in contingency. Well, it wasn't budgeted, so the factor is that I would be looking at what would be the most cost-effective until it can be budgeted. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner first.
Do you have any history on the traffic calming devices in Gotha as far as accidents go? Have they had any accidents due to those?
I'm not aware of any. However, if somebody hit something like that at a high rate of speed, there could be, but everything would still be signed for 25 miles an hour on ours.
I
And
know
ours-
they do get your attention.
We're not looking to do such a harsh curb as the Gotha ones are. We are putting what would be considered a mountable curb in the median, but you would know it if you'd hit it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Through?
Well, just listening to the comments concerning these speed tables and folks not slowing down, I'm gonna have to kind of disagree with that, because anybody I know see a speed table, they're gonna slow down, and I think that's kind of a behavior. That speed table definitely changed your behavior, because again, costly car repairs, looking at the economy, I don't think too many people want to just rip the bottom of their car off and maybe not have a way to work or put themselves in a hardship because of a speed table. So I think a speed table would actually definitely change driving habits and also driving patterns. So since we're talking about, one interesting thing you mentioned stop signs. One at the right, just east of Clark Road, you mentioned putting a stop sign there.
Yes, sir.
And maybe an additional one, or just that one?
I was just looking at that area because there's a definite break in the road with the intersection that would give people a visual reason to stop.
Yeah. I do know that in my district on Clark Road, between Clark Road, Whitefriar, and McCormick, it's about maybe 50 to 100 feet difference. And I wanted a four-way stop right there at Whitefriar, which is about 50 feet to 100 feet from McCormick. And we were told by the state that we couldn't put that there because there is some regulation about a four-way stop sign being so many feet from a major road or major thoroughfare like Clark Road. So that may not even be an option once we look more into that. I was talking to Mike Rumor about that last year, so we just couldn't do it. So that might not even be an option. But to Commissioner Wilson's point concerning funding for this, are you proposing that this be funded in this fiscal year, or something that we can actually put into our budget workshop that will be a future project for next year? Because again, we don't have it in contingency, and it has not been budgeted. So I tend to agree with that. I understand, but I do understand the importance of safety now. So what I'm asking is, what can we do now to mitigate some risk of folks getting hurt until such time that we can budget it, put in our budget the cost to do the full road calming project?
The simple thing would be some stop signs possibly and striping. You know, the speed signs, I'm not so sure those work for people that are really paying attention.
I think you have a couple of options also. If we did want to go with the stop sign option, we could find the money to do that. We could possibly, looking through the budget over the next week or two, possibly come up with the 85 to 95. If you think it's something we're going to want to do is put the full medians in, maybe in next year's budget, we're just going to end up probably tearing out a lot of what we did. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but if we're putting small medians in and we're going to put a full one in, and we're going to talk 200,000 for that, you know, in my thoughts, if we could come up with a plan, and if we don't have enough money, we could find it in April when we typically do our budget amendment.
That's what I was gonna say.
But if that's what we really want, instead of paying $300,000 because we're going to put 100 in and then 200, why don't we just design it for the $200,000 project and see where we can find the money? And if worse comes to worse, we can't find it anywhere else, or we can't delay maybe a project till next year, we can always, you know, sometime in April when we do the budget amendment, we can fund it properly.
So we also have the American Recovery Act funds that's coming in. Is that a possibility of looking at some of the infrastructure?
Yeah, everything
buckets for
we're
that as well?
seeing is water, sewer, stormwater related. We're not seeing too much flexibility on roads and resurfacing and that type of thing, which is what we would really like also. But we have enough of these other projects that we can spend the 24 million. And Steve, you've seen that also. Have you seen any road or resurfacing allowable projects in the ARPA funds?
we're focusing everything on environmental because it's all related to either water, sewer, or stormwater. The currently funded Recovery Act funds we're seeing. But it doesn't include things like this for road resurfacing or road construction. And just as a point of clarification, the idea of putting in these traffic medians is we wouldn't have to rip that out, we can extend them. The thought was that depending on how extensive we wanted to do a landscape median, we wouldn't have to rip out any of the curb except for maybe some of the one end of the round, the bullnose to complete extending them.
Well, what would it take for us to get started on a project like that, at least at this point within this fiscal year, that will allow us to get started on that project and expand it for next year? How much would that cost? How long would it take to get something like that done till we can do expansion to the next budget cycle?
If we had funding now, we could go ahead with the medians. You know, we've talked to contractors to get real pricing on that, kicked it up a little bit just in case there were some increases. But once we find the funding, we could do the 85, or if we come up with, say, only 50,000, we could always put a couple of them in, see how effective they are so that we know how much we can go do next year. But
So-
it's pretty much, aside from the, any landscaping or irrigation, we pretty much we already have the final, another design done. We did it in-house, so when we came up with the medians, the whole idea was that we could expand that into a completed, fully turfed medians that would also give a better look out there on the road. So we actually drew up a second phase to this.
So that goes back to the city manager. Can you help us find funding, $50,000 to get us started on a project like that?
I think we can. You're the ones who are going to have to authorize the reallocation of those funds, though. So we wouldn't be able to do that before the next meeting. We would have to find it, bring it forward, and if it's capital, or if it's from one department to another department, i.e. Public Works or general government for a capital project, the commission's the only one who can move that money around. We can find it, but it has to come before the commission to authorize it.
Okay. I think Commissioner Wilson had a question.
No,
I got
he's not.
I got some stuff I'd like to say. When you through?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, when we went back and this came up, it was kind of an urgent situation, so we wanted to look at it, but I met with Public Works and the staff. Go back to your slide where you showed the one for the 90,000 or 85 to 90,000. I don't like the bumps in the road there because of the school buses and everything else for the kids coming through there. But I think, and I had it wrote down here, mid-year budget review. When you do the mid-year budget review, we can go towards working, we can start like city manager said now, and then finish it when we get to the mid-year budget, we can find the money. Rob's always been good about that. I think there's always a little somewhere in there, but I don't want us to go in there and put something in and then have to rip it out. I'd rather fix it where it's fixed.
Yeah, exactly. That's my concern. I don't think it looks good to the public too if we go and we put that in and 6 months later we go and we do demolition on it and do a different project too. So.
It also is more of a safety factor than the bumps because it's on a main road that people travel. If it's more of the bumps, it's going to be a dangerous thing for liability insurance too. So I think
Steve, just clarify. You're saying if you put the small ones in, we're just going to waste a small amount of that, just cutting the end caps off and continuing them. Is that what
Correct.
you're saying? Okay.
Something I could look at if we wanted to is maybe that middle section between the park and the intersection going to the west. I didn't break out the cost, say we did a full median there with landscape and all. I could look at that and look at some options, get with Ginger Corliss and come up with a landscape design. And that might give us a few other options for cost where we wouldn't have to come back and tear out anything. We could just install one section as a possibility.
Here's what I would suggest. Why don't we see within the next week or so what kind of money we can find? We'll draw something up for either half or the whole to do the smaller ones that we can add on to, and we'll bring that all forth to approve that and approve the money transfer at the next meeting.
Yeah, come back in 2 weeks and bring it back to us
Yeah,
in 2
we'll,
weeks.
we'll work to get that done so we can have it for the next
Is
meeting.
that all right with everybody, consensus?
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Yep, okay. You got that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Steve. Staff reports.
Just one item, Mayor. You notice your agenda in front of you says revised, and I don't know if you're all scratching your heads trying to find out what was revised. It was just in item number 5, the name of the home builder was incorrect in the previous version, so it's correct now. That's all I have.
All right. Let's go to the consent. Before I go to that, I got something I want to do. It's a little different because we put things out to have people make public comments and send it to our comment staff. So just a couple things that come in on the comment sections from citizens about a new homeowner in the neighborhood. I'm going to read these questions out. Why are some homes with code enforcement issues not being taken care of even after liens have been issued for years? Some of these issues can be a danger to other homeowners, children in the neighborhood. Now, I sent an answer back, so I'm going to tell you, the city can lien a home if it does not comply with code citations. However, we cannot foreclose on the liens of the homes. That's a state law. There is a house on North Lakewood that has over probably $750,000 to $1 million in liens. It is a rental and the owners live out of state. They don't care because there is no way to collect until the house is sold. Believe me, this is a situation that's very frustrating to us, and I say me, but us, all of us. So, this is some of the stuff. They sent this in on the comment section. Some roads in these older neighborhoods are horrible. They need to be resurfaced, not temporarily filled. I've seen cars damaged due to large holes in the middle of the roads. Well, same with sidewalks. I realize there are some areas without sidewalks. And with the roads, we have to be more specific on roads that you're referring to, so I asked her to send me the roads she's talking about. But as you all know, we put it in the 5-year plan, and we go after those streets in an order of what we can do. So that's one of the situations. But this is a good thing because the comments come in on our comment section. People can call in and send it in, and then we bring it up and talk to people about it. I had one about the recreation facilities. And I looked up some of the money we spent in the recreation, asked about the recreation thing. We spent over $400,000 in the one park up at Vignetti in the last year, over $400,000. We spent probably $35,000 up in the little park on Russell Drive. We spent $390,000 in another place. So these are things that people asked about, and we need to, I don't know if you get them in your commissioner's request, but they're coming to me, so I wanted to read them because these are things that we need to do. And one of them was about a doggy park. There are 15 parks in the city, and about getting more doggy stations. So we need to put doggy stations. That's a good point to bring up, put the doggy stations in these places. And I also let them know that there's a doggy park, new doggy park in your neighborhood, Commissioner Wilson. And she also offered to walk your dogs if you don't have time. Commissioner Wilson, that is. So, but that's some of the stuff that come up, and I just wanted to bring it up and say we need to look at these things and comment on them because it's things that happen. And I want to read this one because at the end of the meeting, people might not keep their TV on. They might be done watching us because sometimes we go a little longer. But this is from the Parks and Recreation Department. Friday, November the 19th, 6 through 9, music in the park, local band, food trucks, and family-friendly activities. Friday, December the 3rd, 6:30 through 9, evening with Santa, meet and greet with Santa, magic, show, pizza, and other activities. Saturday, December the 4th, 5 through 8, annual holiday tree light, Commissioner Firster, what you asked me about, and you can get your photo made with Santa. Santa Village rides and games. Commissioners light the tree around 7 to 7:15. Saturday, December the 11th, 9 through 11 a.m., breakfast with Santa, pancake breakfast, character storyteller, arts and crafts. Friday, December the 17th, 6 through 9, music in the park, local band, food trucks, games, and car show. So, and there is a car show this Saturday, November the 20th. All right, okay, consent agenda.
Mayor, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Are we doing our commissioners' comments at the beginning of the meeting
No,
now?
I just said I was making the
wondering if
comments.
We're
No,
changing
sir.
something up.
No, I brought something up.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure, because if I
Well-
have any comments, I might want to make them at the beginning of the meeting.
No, I'm the mayor. I have prerogative sometimes to do that, Commissioner,
Thank you, Mayor.
and I did. So, approval of the consent agenda.
Motion to approve?
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Forster. Any more comments? No more comments, let's vote. Motion carried. Okay. That took a lot of them right there. Man, let's see. All right, second reading of ordinances. Is that where we at?
Yep, 15.
All right, second reading of ordinances, public hearing. Second reading of ordinance for LDC Amendment to Chapter 180, Article 2 and 5, Mobile Food Dispensing Vehicle House Bill 1193.
Thank you, Mayor. Mike, Rumor Development Services Director, and Notch Whitfield, Zoning Manager. We're both going to tag team this one. I just kind of want to lay the groundwork. Presently in our Land Development Code, we prohibit the sales of goods from trailers and mobile units except during the harvest season in front of your farm. And we haven't had one of those requests in a while. But state law changed that allows mobile food vending services, food trucks, and it provides for the right to have them and in commercial areas. So we are bringing forward today Land Development Code criteria so we can properly make sure they're properly located so as to not take up required parking, block drive aisles. Where they have the right to go on a developed commercial property, we have the right to make sure there is safety and minimum standards are being met. So these are the items we're going to present to you today, is an attempt to try to capture the best we know and what we've seen and what we found to provide an opportunity to, if there's one located someplace, say, you can either move it here to be safe and correct, or you got to find another spot, but we can't say you're not allowed in the city. So with that, I'll turn it over to Notch Whitfield.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, Commissioners. Okay, so as Mike mentioned, the issue before the Commission this evening is whether or not the City Commission would approve the changes that staff is proposing to two articles in Chapter 180 in the Land Development Code, Articles 2 and Article 5. As Mike mentioned, the House Bill 1193 was signed into law on June 29th, and it became effective on July 1st of this year. And what it did was amend Section 509 of the Florida statutes to preempt the regulation of licenses, registration permits, fees relative to mobile food dispensing vehicles, i.e. food trucks. Because of the long word, I'll just refer to them as food trucks moving forward. The statute preempts that regulation authority to the state, removing it from the local governments. We looked at the legislation and identified some pros and cons. Two pros is that we still have the authority to regulate their location, and they're still subject to local business tax. A con is that we can't prohibit them entirely within the city, so they have to be allowed somewhere. So since House Bill 1193 has put in place these preemptions, we have to regulate it. So there is a second clause in the statute that says that we do have the authority to regulate their operation. So we can't permit them, but we can regulate how they operate on a site and where they might be located. So with that, staff is recommending some changes, basically to treat them as accessory uses for our commercial or industrial zoning districts. And to do that, we are recommending that we add the definition for a mobile food dispensing vehicle in our current definition, utilizing definitions directly from Florida statutes. That is a change to Section 2-4 of Article 2. We are also recommending some changes in Article 5. So I'm going to Section 5-8 first, because in that section, it lists the prohibited uses in the city limits. 5-8B4 speaks specifically to the city prohibiting use of vehicles for the sale of goods and wares and whatnot. So we are recommending that we clarify that prohibition to not apply to food trucks, but then to ensure that to require that the food trucks comply with the accessory use regulations in section 5-6. So in 5-6, what is in the code now speaks entirely of residential accessory uses and structures. It doesn't have any provisions for commercial or industrial. So we are suggesting or recommending that we create a new subsection 1 and put all the residential standards under that section, keeping the language the same, and then create a new subsection 2 and develop standards for commercial accessory uses and structures in this commercial and industrial zoning districts. The ordinance that you have in your packet details all of the recommended strike-through underlying changes, but this slide highlights the key points from that new ordinance. So these would apply to all accessory structures and uses for commercial and industrial uses in general, not specifically to food trucks, since we aren't allowed to permit them or regulate them. So the first one is that these structures can't be located within the front building setback or the front yard of a lot. In parentheses there, you see that we added some language that deals with corner lots or double frontage lots. So understanding that for those corner lots where there's a higher traffic volume road versus a lower traffic volume road, we are suggesting that they could be allowed in the front yard of the lesser traffic volume road. So the higher traffic volume, they are not in front of that. If we could go back, yep, thank you. So for this, so long as when they do place the vehicle or the structure within the secondary front yard, it doesn't impede the site distance triangle. We currently have a definition for a site distance triangle that is shown in this slide. And basically, as the code currently defines it, is where you have the two joining roads, that center point where the side property lines intersect, measure out 25 feet, and then you connect the dots to form a triangle. So that is what is defined as a site safety distance triangle. The second standard is that the accessory uses stay 5 feet from the side and rear property lines, and that they are completely screened from residential uses. Third is they cannot interfere or impede pedestrian and vehicular on-site circulation, ingress, egress areas, loading zones, emergency access, ADA routes, and things like that. So the focus is on safety. 4 is that they can't have overnight parking unless the overnight parking is associated specifically with that principal use that's already gone through site plan approval, and we've looked at it holistically by all the departments in looking at a site plan. 5 is that they can't occupy a parking space that is required by that principal use. So for example, if a restaurant has a requirement for 50 parking spaces, they provided 55 during the site construction, there's 5 parking spaces that are spare that accessory structures or food trucks can go onto those. They can't be parked on grass or sod or landscape areas. The majority of the time, sites are constrained, so any open space that's there is probably there to meet their minimum open space requirements or drainage, a swale, and things like that. Their hours of operation will be conforming to the hours of the principal use. And lastly, if the accessory use is separate from the approved principal use, that use would also be subject to the city's and the state's business tax regulations. Food trucks would also not be allowed to sell alcohol simply because when we sign off on an application for alcohol sales, it's tied specifically to an address. So food trucks, by their very name, is mobile, so it's not tied to an address. But that is not something that would prevent a host or a vendor or an organization or a site to have an event where the food truck person could get a 1-2-3 day, that's actually what it's called, a 1-2-3 day alcohol license for that specific time period. So I know that there's probably going to be discussion, but for right now, staff is recommending that that the commission approve. Yes, sir.
And what we're not doing with this proposed language is permitting them in public right-of-ways. Some places offer areas where food trucks can park within public right-of-ways, and they have a whole permitting process and a committee that looks at those. This is simply regulating, since they have the right to go to commercial areas, commercial properties, we're regulating their safety there. Special events, movie night, any type of special event, that's a special event. That's going to be a permit that's done through either a special event permit, or if it doesn't qualify for a special event permit, it's going to be on a property that's not using the public. So again, right now, we're not talking about finding areas in the city to allow them in right of way. That'll be down the road as we grow to a bigger and better downtown and better city. So we're strictly looking at property.
That concludes my presentation. So our recommendation is that the City Commission adopts the changes to Section 2-4 in Article 2 and Sections 5-6 and 5-8 in Article 5 of the Land Development Code to incorporate the changes directed by the House Bill 1193 with regards to food trucks. Thank you.
You need to read.
I do. So the title to the ordinance is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, amending Section 2-4 and Sections 5-6 and 5-8 of the City of Ocoee Land Development Code relating to mobile food dispensing vehicles, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing an effective date.
All right, we're going to open the public hearing for second reading of ordinance for LDC amendment. Anybody in the public have any comments on item 15? No comments, we'll close and bring it back to dais. Commissioners, either make a motion or make comments.
I got a couple questions. Well, actually, it's more clarification than questions. So I'm gonna make sure I'm clear, on these MFDVs, AKA food trucks. It's not just food trucks, though, right?
The definition in statutes is anything is any vehicle that is a public food establishment that is either self-propelled or that could be, or that is movable from place to place. So that would include barbecue grills placed on trailers. That would include food carts, things like that. Anything that can either move by itself or can be moved to the location.
Right, and I wanted to make sure we clarify that, because when people hear food trucks, they think of vehicle that's self-propelled, and that's just, I just don't think that's right. Also, because I know Mike and I corresponded on a lot of these issues already, but I do have questions regarding right-of-ways that are in the county, but they're in our city. Who is responsible for regulating those? Like specifically, specifically under viaducts.
So the way the statute reads is that there's two legislation that occurred this year that affects the city. One is 1193 that deals with food trucks. The second one, which is the next agenda item, deals with home-based businesses. So the way that we would look at this is that with home-based businesses, the state specifically prohibits parking of vehicles in the right-of-way, on sidewalks, and things like that. So a lot of the food trucks are essentially home-based businesses, and as such, they wouldn't be allowed to park in the right-of-way. Certainly for food trucks that are based, where the home is based in the city, we would look at that from a home-based business, local business tax perspective. So we would sign off on that food truck based at that location, and they could operate on private property. But, right, if their home base is outside of the city, where they live, that BTR would be coming through there. In terms of the enforcement, it would be based on the jurisdiction that owns and maintains the road. So if it's parked on a county facility, usually Orange County Sheriff's Department or Florida Highway Patrol, they are the ones who manage and patrol county facilities, to my understanding. Our local PD would patrol our city streets, so if they were to see someone operating on the right-of-way, they would probably just stop and ask, hey, do you have your permit? That is one of the things that the new legislation does require, is that they have to open themselves up to inspection. So, and their business tax information has to be affixed on their vehicle or on their person. They have the paperwork with them. So that would be from an enforcement perspective.
Right, and the reason I want to drive this point home, because we do have a lot of businesses on the side of roads, you know, whether barbecue grills or peanut sales or masks being sold on the side of the road. And so I don't know what we're doing prior to this legislation going into effect, and were we requiring permits for those folks, or, you know, because right now it sounds like we're going to start.
Yeah, we never allowed, I mean, really, the gentleman, or the entity that goes underneath the overpass of the 429, the viaduct, that's
I'm not
a,
talking about him specifically.
that's a county road, so
I like
yes.
his peanuts.
But we've had them on State Road 50, but if they're in the right-of-way, that's DOT. If they're on the property, then we have code enforcement. We've had somebody that sold roses and rugs. We do allow, by code, the fireworks, but not in right-of-way. Those are on property. So if they're in a right-of-way, it's either state, city, or county, and if it's in the city, we have a right to make them move.
Okay, but what teeth are we gonna have? I guess that's my question.
Our
Is
teeth,
this
our
a
teeth is
fine?
the city
Like,
doesn't allow them in the right-of-way
so is
for
it a
any
monetary
city
fine that's
right-of-way.
being levied for violators who don't have permits and yet they're set up camp?
No, but we have the right to move them, make them move out of our right-of-way, but we don't have we haven't discussed a fine.
Okay.
Commissioner, in, I believe it's Chapter 501 of the Florida statutes that deals with the sale of wares and goods. If they do have to have a permit, and then I believe the state law in Section 5-501, there are penalties associated with persons selling goods without a permit. I read about it earlier today, and it's a permit through the county clerk of circuit court. If they are identified as being in violation of Chapter 501, it would be a first-degree misdemeanor. The second time would be a third-degree felony.
Okay, well, and this is why I want to make sure that we have discussion instead of just approving this, because the public needs to know that this is coming. Well, actually, it's not even coming, it's here. And so as we move forward and start enforcing some of these ordinances and state laws with permits and everything, the public needs to know that if they were not doing it before, they need to start getting their permits, need to start doing different things, because there's a new day when it comes to these mobile vehicles selling foods and I guess selling wares as well. Is that?
Yeah, the mobile food is very popular. There's an outfit on the east side of town that really manufactures them, pumps them out really with a design, and they've so far, most of the people seeking what to do have come from that, a referral from there to come to Ocoee, and we've been able to talk to them and educate them on where is the appropriate place. For instance, like a shopping center like Quadro, there's ample space to be out of the way, out of a drive aisle, don't take up needed parking. That's been what we've seen so far. But your weekend warrior that's pulling a grill, it's just gonna be education. We'll have to get, once these land development code, if this gets passed and gets codified, we'll have to reach out to the police department and tell them what's permitted, not permitted, so they can help during nights and weekends.
Okay. One last question, and it's very interesting that you brought it up, is home-based businesses. If a food truck is parked somewhere in this municipality, they're considered a home-based business if their home residence is within the city. Is that what I got?
Well, a mobile food truck is subject to local business tax. It's gonna be tough for the person that just comes here every once in a while. We do have them if they are a resident that is operating their business out as a food truck. out of their house, their house is their office, we're able to collect that business tax for a mobile food truck. Even if even if they primarily put it down by the Space Coast or the attractions or something like that. So we have several mobile units.
Okay.
But the one that just comes in and out, it's gonna be tough to make them get a business tax, because they can say, well, I'm not gonna be here again for 6 months. I just drove in and found a spot.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a challenge. Not every food truck that's in Ocoee is gonna have the business tax, but we'll try to educate, we'll try to make them comply as much as we can.
Okay, that's all I have.
Anybody else? All right, I need a motion.
I'll be happy to make that motion.
Okay.
I have a question. You mentioned home-based business. I know we were kind of going down that road, and we were talking about food trucks here. And I believe this House Bill 1193, does it cover anything regarding home-based businesses beyond the food trucks? I know this House Bill was vast. And as I started reading some of this, I was reading about home-based businesses, and it seemed to me that they were, I guess, relaxing some of the restrictions that they used to have on home-based businesses.
The next item is on home-based businesses.
Oh.
We're gonna
There we go.
touch on that.
I'll second that motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Brinson. Any more comments? If not, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right, item 16, second reading of ordinance for LDC amendment to Chapter 180, Articles 2 and 5, home-based businesses, House Bill 403.
Okay.
Zoning Manager Whitfield or
We're gonna tag team this again. Again, I'll
Okay.
set it up. And again, Commissioner, we presently in our land development code in 2 sections describe, we have parameters for home-based businesses, and we specifically list what is considered a home-based business and what is not. We have to take that out of our code because the new state law says you cannot regulate, anything can be in home-based business. So we have to first take that out of our criteria to say what is and what is not a home-based business. And then we've tried to apply some sets of standards, the best that we can come up with. We can always review it and go through this process and update as we work through these. But the new state law says you can operate any business you want out of your home. You can even do retail transactional sales out of your house. Now, you can't do it out of an accessory structure, but you can do it out of your house. That's state law, as you'll see, and Knox will tell you here in a minute. So,
That sounds like a very slippery slope.
yes.
It really
So
does.
we're not proposing this to encourage, we're reacting to state law tonight, the best we can. And if Commissioner Brinson's gonna bring up a scenario, it's gonna be tough. But we do have, one good thing is it does limit people that work there in cars parking, which we did not have before. And Commissioner Wilson and I have had a property that had this issue. Now we can regulate cars based off a home-based business with this new state law, but, so I'll turn it over to Anach.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Similarly, section 2-4, again, simply because that's the definition section, and section 5-17. In section 2-4, there's a definition specifically for home-based occupation, and then 5-17 is the section that deals with the standards. House Bill 403 also signed on June 29th, and it became effective July 1st of this year. It amended section 559.955 of the Florida statutes in restricting a local government's ability to enact or enforce ordinances and regulations or take any action that is otherwise inconsistent with this new legislation. So like before, we looked at it, discussed some pros and cons. As Mike mentioned, there's the pros. Currently, our code doesn't require the proprietor or the operator to reside in the home. We have had instances where someone has come in with an application for a home-based business. What they wanted to do was rent out an entire house and operate their landscape company out of the home. They don't live there, it's just their office. So that's basically an entirely commercial function. So we had denied that one. But the new law requires that the employer, operator resides at the house. We can require heavy equipment to be screened from the street and from the adjacent properties. This Florida statute does provide a definition for heavy equipment, so we're recommending that we use that exact definition. It includes vehicles and equipment, machinery, and things like that. 3 is that it allows us to regulate parking and the traffic generated by that business. So if what the use is presents a parking and traffic situation that doesn't mirror essentially what would be expected at a residential home, that would be in violation of the statutes. In terms of the parking spaces themselves, they have to be in a legally designated parking space. They cannot be on unimproved surfaces like sod, parking of big trucks in the backyard on grass, things like that. They cannot be within the right-of-way. It doesn't specify whether it's public or private. It's just right-of-way, and it cannot be on or over a sidewalk. Number 5 I think is a good one, because the operation of that home occupation can't be in a manner that prevents the residents from operating and looking as a residence. The character, the appearance, the sounds, lights, noise, vibration, things like that, it would still have to be of a residential character. Like the food trucks, it would still be subject to the local business tax requirements of our Code of Ordinances as well as Florida statutes. Some of the cons, we cannot restrict it or prohibit it in any way. Anything can be a home-based business in whole or in part. As Mike mentioned, retail transactions, which we currently don't allow, is now allowed by statutes, but they have to be inside of the dwelling. It's not allowed to be outside. It can't be in the backyard or in the garage or things like that. Incidental uses, however, can occur on the property on the outside, as well as any other accessory structures. And we can no longer limit the amount or the square footage or the percentage of the space inside the home for the home occupation. So right now, we limit it to 30% of the house. Right, as it stands, it'll be, the entire house could be used for it. Some of the proposed changes, again, to section 2-4, to add the heavy equipment definition using statutory language. We are also recommending a change to the current home occupation definition, simply to just shorten it, because the current definition includes codes and standards. Those exact same codes and standards currently live in 5-17, so there's no need to have standards in a definition, so we're removing that. In terms of the standards themselves, some of the changes that we are recommending, these are the highlights, is again mirroring, adhering to the directives from the legislation, is that we will require that the operator live in the home. Only 2 employees working at the home could be from someone not residing in the house. So if you have a landscape company and their office is at the home, their equipment is screened, 2 of the employees could be, who don't live in the house could come and do administrative work, clerical work, or something like that. They could have as many independent contractors as they want, they just can't come to the house because that would be generating traffic and the need for more parking. We would also have standards for parking, which I explained earlier, traffic generation, requiring the screening, adding a requirement for a 6-foot opaque screening material, requiring that the house remain in its residential character, and of course the business tax payment. So that we are recommending that staff adopts, that the City Commission approves the changes to section 2-4 and 5-17 of the Land Development Code to address the directives from the House bill. Thank you.
I just want to state that there is some discussion on whether an Airbnb is a home-based business. We are working on Airbnb criteria and looking at this, so we will bring something back and let you know if it can fall under the home-based business in a sense, in some aspects, but we are looking to bring back Airbnb criteria. So if you had any of those type of questions.
Thank you. You, City Attorney.
Yeah, this is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, amending Section 2-4 and Section 5-17 of the City of Ocoee Land Development Code relating to home-based businesses, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
Does anybody, open the public hearing, anybody in the public have any comments on item 16, second reading of ordinance for LDC amendment to Chapter 180, Article 2 and 5, home-based businesses, House Bill 403. If not, I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Motion
second.
made by Commissioner Oliver. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Any more comments? No more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. Item 17, second reading of ordinance for the Comprehensive Plan Amendment, CPA, to update capital improvements element, CIE, and 5-year schedule of capital improvements. Manager Whitfield.
Thank you, sir. The annual update to the capital improvements element to adopt and update the 5-year schedule of capital improvements. So currently in Florida statutes, each local government is required to have a comprehensive plan, and that comprehensive plan includes a capital improvements element. Each element is required to have what the state calls a schedule of capital improvements, a capital improvements plan. They all mean the same thing, and it has to cover a minimum 5-year period. It has to show publicly and privately funded projects that are necessary to ensure that the city is maintaining the adopted level of service standards during that 5-year time period. And this is not considered an amendment to the comprehensive plan, like the former two amendments every cycle year and things like that. So this will just be a change to the comp plan that can be done via an ordinance by the city commission. It goes to the state as a courtesy, but it's not subject to state review. The proposed 5-year schedule that we have in this ordinance comes directly from the fiscal year 2021-22 budget that was approved by the City Commission at the 2 advertised public hearings. So none of the projects that are presented in this ordinance are projects that the City Commission and the general public haven't seen before. This ordinance does introduce new tables 6A through 6D in policy 1.6 of the capital improvements element. Those new tables essentially replace 6A in last year's table. So this is table 6A for Parks and Recreation, again coming straight from the adopted budget book. 6B is stormwater and drainage. 6C is transportation, specifically the road capacity improvements at the top. And 6D is utilities, and I'm sorry for the overlap, but the list is so long that I just copied the bottom so you can see the total. With that, staff is recommending that the commission approves the amendment to the CIE and to update the 5-year schedule in accordance with Florida statutes and policy 1.5.
And I just wanted to state the changes to the capital improvement element are nice. That's one of the reasons we looked at Anach for this position, because she worked for the state and reviewed all of the cities and counties' elements and sees this as the best, cleanest. So we're adopting it, and we're right up there with all the best of them. Thanks.
Through?
All right, this is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, amending the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan as adopted in 1991 as amended in order to comply with Section 163.31773 Florida statutes, amending the capital improvements element of the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
All right, we're going to open the public hearing. Anybody in the public have any comments on item 17, second reading of ordinance for the Comprehensive Plan Amendment? No comments? Close it, bring it back to the dais. Do I hear a motion?
I make the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Brinson. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Firstner. Any more comments? If not, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing. I'm gonna read this and then I'll turn it over. This is 409, item number 18, 409 Ocoee Road, PUD, large-scale preliminary final site plan project, LS 2021-005. I'm gonna turn this over to the vice mayor. I was involved with this particular project with my lifelong friend, Mr. Vaughn, that owned it, so I'm gonna turn that over to and I'll be abstaining from vote and fill out the conflict.
Yep. Thank you. This is another project that shows the popularity of the State Road 429 corridor. This is the preliminary final site plan for the 409 Ocoee-Popka Road plan unit development you saw at the beginning of the year, late last year. And so this is facilitating the site plan aspect. The property is located north of Silver Star Road on Ocoee-Popka Road, sort of just north of the Sobiks and the church, and kind of across from the New Vermeer. It sits at 4.76 acres. So here you have the Sobik Shopping Center, you have the church, the subject parcel. This parcel is on the east side of Ocoee-Popka Road. On the west side of Ocoee-Popka, north of Palm Drive, we have that business character area overlay. This is just outside of it, but it meets the tenets of the overlay. The developers for this developed the Park at 429 industrial park on East Crown Point, and they have been chomping at the bit to find more land in Ocoee, and we've found this site. It's, again, 4.76 acres. It was approved for 2 buildings. Two buildings. The first building is 29,000 square foot, grade height, retail front, opportunity, has access to the parking on the southern portion of the property for the vehicles wanting non-truck traffic would be use the southern. We have a northern driveway which extends to the back where there's a second 30 to 32,000 square foot building. It is at grade height, so this has a retail office flex front and an industrial building in the back at 30,000 square feet, which we are looking for along Ocoee-Popka Road with our business character area. The right-of-way dedication will be provided, an 8-foot sidewalk along the front. They are providing stormwater. They have to meet the Lake Apopka standards. This is the same engineer that did the State Road 429 industrial site as well, that had to meet the same requirements. There'll be the landscaping along the front, and we have a wall to the rear adjacent to the Pioneer Key, which is a higher density residential. And I didn't put the elevation here, but it has a tilt wall with a lot of windows, the retail front, and this is for final site plan. They have St. John's Water Management District approval. Upon completion or approval of these plans, they will receive Orange County approval for their right-of-way use permit, and we will get the dedication of the land along Ocoee-Popka Road. This is an opportunity to get retail and more employment in the area. We're going to see a lot of this. I've got 2 more parcels that along Ocoee-Popka I'm talking to, and of course we have the Progress Commercial Park that'll be coming back in December. So looking forward to more good development, high taxes, and low services, and lots of jobs. I'll entertain any questions.
Questions from the commission? Thank you. I'm sorry. Do we wait till the public hearing?
Well,
I
we'll wait,
think-
we'll come back.
Okay, we'll come back after the public hearing. Scott, did you need to read something?
No, nothing to read.
Okay. We'll open the public hearing on item number 18. Does anyone in the audience that would like to comment? We have one,
The engineer.
the engineer. Okay, thank you. Just please state your name.
Good evening, Bruce Taylor, Dave Schmidt Engineering, 12301 Lake Underhill Road. Here to answer any questions.
Okay, well, let me close, should I close the public hearing at this point?
Is there anyone else?
Does anyone in the audience want to ask the engineer a question? No, hearing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission if they have some questions. Maybe they have a question for you, sir. Commissioner Oliver, did you have a question?
No, I just have a question regarding any conflict of interest here. The form that needs to be filled out, should the form be filled out before the meeting, or it can be filled out at any time, right?
Right, and it can be filled out after the meeting.
Okay, all right.
I believe they have to fill it out, and I'm not the attorney, but I believe it's within 15 days of the
15
meeting.
days.
Okay,
I believe
I just wanted to
it's-
make sure that I understood. Okay, thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Rumor or for the engineer from the commission? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
A second?
Approval.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any further questions? Let's vote. Carries unanimously with the mayor abstaining, and he will be completing the Form 8B to the clerk. Thank you.
Thank you. Oops, come back here. We have no regular agenda. Comments from citizens. Before I call Mr. Moore up, I just want to recognize 2 or 3 people. The ones of you that are on our local, what do you call it? Districting board, raise your hand or stand up. All right. And the ones on the county board, stand up. There you go. All right. Appreciate your service, appreciate your service to the city and to the county. Thank you. All right. Comments from the citizen or public? Mr. Moyer. Turn the clock on.
Who's got props?
My name's Jim Moyer, live in Arden Park North. I'm one of hundreds, if not thousands, of people whose medical services are provided by an organization called Family Integrative Medicine of Orlando. I mentioned to them about the event taking place here in the city of Ocoee on December 7th, remembering World War II on the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. And they were kind enough to obtain, pay for, and generously donate this Iwo Jima flag-raising replica to the city of Ocoee for the event on December 7th and for the city to use in any future events or to display as they see fit. So there's a little dedication here from the organization to the city. So I'm just presenting the item. And I need to present it tonight since the event is before the next commission meeting. Also, secondly, I just wanted to make everyone aware that the American Legion Post 109 that meets in the Tom Iveson Seniors and Veterans Center here in Ocoee is having a membership drive. We are going to have a table at the West Orange Seniors Craft Show. The table will be just on Friday, the first day of the craft show. And it'll be manned. I'll be there from 8 to 4 trying to increase the membership of American Legion Post 109. Thank you all very much and take care. God bless. I hope everybody had a nice Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day.
Thank you. All right, we're down to anybody else hadn't filled out any forms, so we'll move on to the citizens. I will just make a quick comment. We have a new business in town that are here, not business. Would you like to stand up and come? I'll give you 2-3 minutes up there to tell who you are and what your business is.
Can't be shy in
Talking about, we
business.
started about small businesses, so
Can't be shy in business.
come on up. We give a 3-minute limit on it.
Hello, everyone. Even before coming in, Commissioner Oliver had recommended me to come and speak, but now here I am. So, hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Dave Tran. I'm a chiropractor coming into town. I don't know if you guys know where Orlando Gun Club is, right off of State Road 50 in Colonial. We're right next door to in the extra space storage. There's some retail spots in front. There's Disney pins, and there's a flooring company over there as well too. You know, my wife Jane will be the office manager. She's over there as well too, and we're just so happy to be coming to this community. We've been just getting involved, you know, by just going to the trunk or treat and just meeting the people here in Ocoee and just really getting to know how everything works. That's why we're here. We're just hanging out, listening, learning, and you know, kind of understanding what the community needs and wants and helps and stuff like that. And we're just here just to help out as much as we can, and we're just happy to be here. Yep.
We appreciate it.
Yep.
I met with you a couple of weeks ago, so good to hear somebody's moving in. We need somebody to do some adjusting to us sometimes, so.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, Commissioner Oliver.
All right, this past Thursday, November 11th, we held the third annual District 4 Town Hall meeting. We had great participation, so I want to thank all those that came out. Dr. Tron, you were there, your wife, and thank you guys for coming out. We were able to get a lot of updates as to what the city does. We had the department managers come there. So if you ever wonder about the different things that go on in the city and how your tax dollars get spent, it's a great opportunity to come out and not only ask questions, but also be able to meet one-on-one with the department heads and the directors to talk about the different services that's provided in the city. And it gives you a good idea how your tax dollars are being spent in the city. So it was a great meeting, and we got a lot accomplished as far as educating the public as to what we do in the city and how we operate in the city. Also, the next item I want to kind of talk a little bit about is this also came up during the town hall meeting, and even beyond the town hall meeting, I received a couple of communications regarding the lights and sidewalks on Ingram Road. We talked a little bit about that, but I just want to see if we can get just a quick update on that. I don't know if Steve's still here or not, but I know we're beating a dead horse on this, but I got to keep asking about it. Since if the citizens are asking about it, then I got to keep asking about it. So do we have any updates on the lights and sidewalks on Ingram Road? The questions came from residents of the McCormick Reserve as well as Bryn Mawr that lives actually on that road. So if you're watching, see if we can get an update on that. Is anyone here for that? City Manager?
I don't have any information on an update on that, Commissioner. I don't know if Mr. Krug is still here or not about it.
Okay. Well, if he's not here, then I will continue to follow up and ask about this particular project. I'll ask behind the scenes, and I will also ask during the commission meeting, so that way your questions don't go unanswered, or at least they're not in vain. So we will continue to ask about that particular project, as that road is a very, very dangerous road. Folks are starting to walk that road at night. It's getting dark earlier, so as folks are walking that road, you can't see them. There's no sidewalks there, and there's no lights there. So I think that we need to have some kind of sense of urgency when it comes to the safety of our citizens as we are growing and folks are starting to walk. They want to walk to the trail. They want to ride their bikes to the trail. And it's a direct pathway for them to get from their homes to the bike trail down Ingram Road. So we need to start looking at that a little more aggressively as we move forward with that particular project. Also, you asked for it. You got it. Last year, a lot of folks during COVID was asking, as we get to this post-COVID era, what are we going to bring back food truck Fridays and movie on the lawn and those kind of things. And Parks and Recreation has responded. As you heard the mayor mention those events at the beginning of our meeting, and hopefully he will echo that again, that these type of events are starting to come back, and I think it's great that folks are getting out their homes and getting out, taking in some fresh air, getting to hang out and know your neighbors. So I'm really excited about these events that's coming up in the city. So you can find this information on our Facebook page. This information can also be found on the city's website, and we have flyers all over the lobby. So again, a lot of great events coming up here in the near future. Also, as we're coming up the holidays, Thanksgiving holidays, we have a music event coming up this weekend. There's also the Florida Classic this weekend. So you're talking hundreds of thousands of visitors coming into the Central Florida area. So one of the things that I want to speak about is safety. Safety in your vehicles. Be very vigilant about your safety when it comes to driving along our highways, our streets and highways this weekend. Particularly, there's going to be a lot of folks on the road this weekend, so be very careful about driving. Be vigilant about your safety. Do not create crimes of opportunity when you're in the shopping plazas and places like that. So continue to look at those things, particularly this weekend. As we go into the holiday season, always be vigilant about your surroundings. Be vigilant about who's around you. If it's dark, you're coming out of a supermarket, Target, or Walmart. Just always be mindful of what's going on around you. Do not create crimes of opportunity. So definitely pay attention to what's going on around us during the holidays. Also have another agenda item. We talked about this a couple of years ago, and we talked about MBE programs. And this also came up, one of the topics that came up in our town hall meeting. I wanted to see about, I know we can't discuss it tonight because it'll be a brand new item, but I would like to get this item on one of our agendas, our upcoming agendas for discussion. So talk about MBEs. MBE is a minority business enterprise, and what that does is you have different companies that come and bid out different jobs in our city. We have a lot of large projects that goes on in the city, and we also have a lot of small businesses, even women-owned businesses that can do some of the work here. But a lot of the times they get outbidded by the large companies that they can outbid them. One of the issues that they have is that they can outbid them, but then 6 months later they come back with a change order, and they change the amount, and it makes it almost impossible for small businesses to compete. So Orange County, the airport, some of the municipalities around us have programs in place like this. So I'm going to propose that we actually add that particular discussion on one of our agenda items as we move forward. So I don't know if we need to have a consensus for that, or that's just something we can handle behind the scenes to add to our agenda, upcoming agendas in the next few months. So Scott, what would you do about that?
I think you can just request that now, or meet with Mr. Frank and request that it be put on a future agenda. If you've got some ideas of how you want to lead the discussion or materials you want to provide, I think that'd be helpful.
Well, I would like to ask right now that we add it to a future agenda.
I think all we need is a consensus, and we can just put an item on their discussion of this issue.
That will be up to the rest of the commission.
Thumbs up
Are
down
you
here.
okay with that we actually have the discussion concerning MB programs?
I don't have a problem.
Good.
No, thumbs up.
I also, here's something that we talked about again a couple years ago. We have not discussed it since. We looked into purchasing, or not even purchasing, but actually acquiring the hollow ground on Baskin Ridge Road. The hollow ground is considered a cemetery. It's an African-American cemetery that we have been maintaining for, 20 plus years or so. And a couple years ago, we came together during one of our budget workshops to be able to either look at acquiring that property or at least create a reflective garden for that property, so that way you can actually have something there so people can actually walk there and look and see what happened, get some information about it. So we did actually, I know we passed, I'm not sure if it was the ordinance or not, but we actually did have something on the agenda that we actually decided to dedicate some funding for that reflective garden. but I have not heard anything about it since, and that's been a couple of years ago. I was just wondering if we may be able to, again, if we need to put that on the agenda item to discuss that as we move forward, I think that may be another item that we can add to the agenda as well, unless there is a update on it tonight.
I defer to the city attorney. I thought the consensus was, since we're not paying anything for it and no one's claiming the property, that we were just going to continue on.
We're continuing to maintain it. I think without ownership, we didn't want to do any major improvements, but continuing to maintain it, installing minor improvements was probably acceptable, but without ownership. At one time, we looked at acquiring it by eminent domain, I believe, and we got a quote from our eminent domain attorney to what that would cost. And I can go back and look at my notes, but I thought
15 to 20,000.
that's what I thought it was, something like $20,000 to do that. We'd made efforts to contact the owner over a period of about 6 months, trying to get in touch with the owner. It had been passed down in, I guess, various trusts and out-of-state individuals. No success. So the next step was to acquire it by eminent domain, and we thought that cost would be about $20,000.
I would like to add that back to the agenda item, as we have not seen or done anything
Sorry,
since.
Commissioner, I was just letting the city manager know that I am working with Ginger Corliss and her team to come up with some drawings. I did realize it was on there, and at the time, Peter was going to be the person that was going to assist, and he left the city, and then we had a new person that joined the team. And so I did reach out to Ginger, actually, a few weeks ago. I didn't bring it to you yet because I know that she was working with her staff to see what they can accommodate.
Okay, so it is something coming.
It is.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
We'll add 2 minutes to your time.
Thank you, okay, thank you. Let's see here. We've talked about the holidays, and I believe we have a meeting scheduled December 21st. And I just wanted to know, are we planning on canceling that meeting? I know I'm a month ahead of time, but it's something, are we actually considering canceling the December 21st meeting? As a lot of folks will probably be on vacation, and I don't think much will be going on at that time. So I guess that's another question I'm posing to the commission.
We'll do that. I can bring that up at the end of the meeting.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I received a letter from Mrs. Wilder from the Winter Garden Veterans and Family Day event that they do. They actually been doing it for about 15 years. I think we've actually, she used to come to the commission meetings and request a page in their commemorative book. And I received a letter from her, and they wanted to know, are we still planning on putting a full-page ad in their commemorative book as we have done for the past few years?
Isn't that in the budget? Isn't that in one of the standard items that that's Miss Charlie May?
Yeah, Ms. Wilder?
Charlie May Wilder?
Yeah, Ms. Charlie May Wilder.
Yeah.
She came here, but I thought we put that into something, into like a regular payment we made.
That should have went to,
Is that what we did? Do you remember that, Mayor?
I thought we did, but that should have went through staff upstairs, and they could have told them, they got an answer for it, you know? But they can check on it and see, Rob.
As we normally do, so I guess.
We can check. I think we probably did do that last year. The full inside front cover is $125, so.
I'll be
we
happy
did
to
it
pay,
last year.
if they don't, I'll be happy to pay the $125 to the page out
Okay.
of my
Yeah.
account.
All right.
All right.
We've done that every year, but if
Yeah.
it's not in
Sounds
there,
good.
I'll be
If
happy to
it's
pay
not in
that.
there, yeah, I can go on that with you as well.
Oh, you are?
If-
Then we only get 75 each?
We can do that?
That's 150.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead,
sorry.
you can take that.
All right.
Sorry, I took some of your
Commissioner
time.
Forster.
No problem, and I just have one last, I actually I'm done. My quote here for tonight,
Whoopee.
my last quote would be, if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to become more, you are a leader. And that was said by John Quincy Adams. Thank you. I would defer back to the commission.
Commissioner Forster.
Operation Santa is starting on November 30th, and it's running through December 16th. Very successful program. Everybody seems to like it. It's in about the 20th year now. Check the calendars on the Ocoee webpage. They have a breakdown of all the neighborhoods and the dates and times that they'll be coming through. Music in the Park, the mayor mentioned it, will be at Bill Breeze Park on Friday, November 19th, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Bring your
And-
chairs.
What's that?
Bring your chairs.
Bring chairs.
Okay.
And the craft show is being put on at the Eisen Center, 1701 Adair Street, on November 19th and 20th, both days, 8 a.m. through 4 p.m. You'll come out and have a safe holiday. If you're going to travel this Thanksgiving, be very careful, be mindful of your surroundings and all, and have a happy holiday. That's it.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes, fellow who just left the room, I'm sorry he left right then, but the county has a redistricting, and I went to the last one that was at Ocoee High School, but my understanding is December 6th, there's going to be another public hearing regarding redistricting in the county, and that's gonna be at Barnett Park. The other item, I have just a few more. I've been made aware by some folks in my district that, we need to be concerned with our city. Please, keep your trash in your car. Don't throw it out the window. We find broken beer bottles in the road. I know I'm getting smiles here, but, again, I travel Orlando Avenue, White Road, and it's a constant issue where you see where people have thrown things out of their car. Please, take them home with you. That's what that big green container is that you pay for. And, I think most everything's been mentioned, except I do send emails out to folks. I sent one out today. If you'd like to be on my email list, please let me know. You don't have to live in District 2. I can share information to other districts here. We do represent the whole city when we vote here, so again, if you have something, here, the gentleman comes back. December 6th, Barnett Park, you're on the redistricting committee, correct, for the county? December 6th is the next public hearing at Barnett Park? Okay, so just go to the county, you can look and see how the proposals for us to be redistricted within the county. So that's something very important. Again, going back to my last one, emails, if you'd like to be on my email list, please just let me know. If you've changed your email and you're not getting one from me, please let me know, because we will update you. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Brinson.
As you can see, we're working hard on addressing some of your traffic concerns we have in the city. Bear with us, but just as important, as the mayor mentioned earlier, Commissioner Wilson just mentioned, please reach out to us. Contact the city, contact your commissioners, your mayor, with your suggestions, with your recommendations, with your thoughts, your needs, your wants, your whatever, because if we don't hear from you, then we expect that what we're doing is 100% correct, and we all know that's just not the case. Just saying. But seriously, reach out to us with your goods and your others, and your wants, your desires. I've been driving around a lot in District 1, and there are some sidewalks that are pretty bad. I stopped and knocked on quite a few doors recently, and I left my card there. If I left you a card and asked you to contact me about your sidewalk, I'm not trying to get you to pay for your sidewalk. I'm asking you to contact me because we need to address your sidewalk issue. Some of these sidewalks are literally 8 inches higher than the other part of the sidewalk. That is a public safety issue, and we need to get that taken care of. So I want you to contact me accordingly. Be careful. As a couple of commissioners have mentioned, this is the season of giving, and some people think it's the season of taking. Just remember, some people out there are trying to separate you from your goods, and you have to be vigilant to make sure that does not happen. 9 o'clock routine. The 9 o'clock routine is important. We have, and I live in a community that's gated, so we have a false sense of security over there. But people are jiggling door handles. people are breaking in cars, they're not even just jiggling door handles. They are literally, open garages, they're going in and people coming out and they're, you know, $4,000 or $5,000 of tools that they once had is now in the possession of someone else. The 9 o'clock routine is real. Close your garage doors, lock your garage doors, close your car doors, lock your car doors, and your windows. I know it's cool. I know it's cool now. I do. I like having my house open, let that air flow through. But be mindful. If you leave your window open, someone may come in unexpectedly. Safety, 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 that is important, and especially now, this next one, we're working on Blue Jay Way, AKA the Pig Trail over there by the school now. It is literally in the process, it's under construction. However, earlier today, for those out there who know about this and those out there who don't, listen carefully, they were cutting down a tree on Blue Jay Way. And there were probably, it was a huge honeycomb in this tree. And I suspect there was probably 3,000 or 4,000 bees that fell out of this log. And it's in the middle of Blue Jay Way now. We've contacted a beekeeper to come out there to remove these bees. But right now, as it stands, even as I speak, that log sits in the middle of Blue Jay Way. Please do not walk down Blue Jay Way. We've put barriers on either end of Blue Jay Way. We put tape down there, police tape, do not cross. My kudos go out to the Ocoee Police Department because they were very responsive when I was out there, and when I contact, especially Michelle Grogan, and she got to it. But this is a dangerous. This truly is a public safety concern because many people may be allergic to bees, but they don't know they are until they get bitten. And if you're on that trail, it's too late. So do not go on the trail until tomorrow, sometime after they have removed that log with all these honeybees, and all this honey is oozing out of this log. So if you want honey, go to Publix. I'm not promoting Publix, but again, this is the season of Thanksgiving. It's also the season of giving. Be mindful, there's a lot of folks out there who may be less fortunate than you are, even more so than in previous years. So help out where you can, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Talking about, all right, Christmas, December the 21st. Do I hear a motion to cancel that meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Oliver, cancel December 21st meeting. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Brinson. Let's vote. I wonder who's gonna be humbug.
Did someone vote no?
No, I just said I was wondering if anybody would.
No.
All right, let's get back to the street lights. We've been talking and working on Ingram Road for 2 or 3 years, probably maybe longer than that. Sidewalks and the lights. Also, McGuire, I guess Steve's gone, right, Rob?
I believe so, yeah.
Huh?
I believe he is.
So, we bring this up and bring it up, and Duke is just a problem. I guess there's so much stuff going on, but the lights on McGuire Road still haven't been fixed between, on the south end of town up to the, Robeson Road. So, that also needs to be adjusted. The other one is trees on Ruiz Street, overgrown. The trees are so overgrown, and that's where the kids go to Little League. The streets, it's so overgrown with the trees, you can't see the lights, and the lights don't project down on the street. So we need to, and there's a bicycle track there where kids ride their bicycles up to the Little League field. So we need to get those trimmed up. And the other big major animal in the park here is Christmas lights. What about Christmas lights?
Well, there.
Remember last year?
Yeah, I remember last year, and we've had this discussion starting in September, and they know we want them all to work. They're going through, up to this point, checking all the pigtails. It was always the excuse we were getting from Duke was the pigtail's not working, or it's missing, or something like that. So that was our instructions to Steve, go through, make sure if there's not one there, put one there. And this time, when the Christmas lights go on, we're looking for better than the 80 to 85% lit ornaments than we usually have. They're also looking to put some type of pigtails. We didn't have it when we specified the ones on Blueford out here, so they're trying to get something and get the power company to agree to something to put on those also. We did discuss if we don't have that in time, I don't know that we'll have those in time this year, but try to come up with some type of banners for this year until we get the pigtails. And we can put lighted decorations up along Bluford next year.
All right. The other thing is, one other, I was gonna read a while ago, but a gentleman from up in Prairie Lake, called about a lot of speeding in the neighborhood. I know the police chief might be here, but if not, we need to report it to her that they need to have more presence up there for speeders that are driving, you know. They also asked them about speed tables installed up there in that area, so these people are driving 40 to 45 in a residential neighborhood, so we need to.
Yeah, we've made the message clear to the chief, the warning time's over, and so they're getting pretty aggressive up there as far as I've heard, with tickets and not so many warnings anymore. Unfortunately, a lot of times it's some of the people in those neighborhoods who've been complaining, but sometimes they're the ones speeding also.
The other thing is, we need to make sure all these activities that I called off earlier are on our TV channel, going out during these holidays. Make sure these dates are on that channel that goes out and shows people the times and where they're at. So they can post this article, but we need that. So, like I said, there's a car show this Saturday. I think it starts at 10 o'clock or 11, I can't remember.
You wanna tell where it is?
I'm going to.
Okay.
Downtown Ocoee, all the businesses know, they're looking forward to it, having people come down. So, they'll have, a lot of cars, and I think they're having food trucks and stuff like that, so, Saturday, right? So, we'll be back when? When's our next meeting? December the 7th. December the 7th. What's that, Pearl Harbor Day?
I was gonna say, Mayor, you may want, is it something?
Pearl Harbor Day.
The time that we're doing that?
Huh?
The time that we're doing the,
5:30. 5:30 in front of City Hall.
In here or in front?
In front, where the flag's at. You wanna do it in here or out there? We can do it in here.
I thought we decided.
In here. We'll do it in here.
Okay.
Okay?
Sir?
5:30, December the 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. We're having the veterans for World War II, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Mayor, before you close, I have a question.
Huh?
Was there a CRA meeting on December 7th? Did we cancel that?
We didn't.
I have something on my calendar for December 7th for,
If we do it, they can notify us and then we'll,
okay. We do, that's at 5:30,
well,
5 o'clock. Okay,
we'll do it at 5. It won't take that long.
okay,
We
okay.
can do that, then do that at 5:30, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving and don't eat too much. Thank you.